my fiancée, in order to prevent my adopted younger brother from being forced to marry a paralyzed woman, actually planned a fake marriage with him. But not only did I not get angry, I even handed her something. She accepted it happily, thinking I had thoughtfully prepared a wedding invitation for the two of them. However, the moment she saw the names on the invitation, her smile froze instantly, because not even in her wildest dreams could she have imagined it was my wedding invitation, and the bride was the very woman who was supposed to be my adopted brother's arranged marriage partner. Chapter 1. My love, let's put our wedding on hold. I'm going to marry Makoto first. You can understand me, right? I looked at my beautiful fiancée in a daze, unable to say a word before Willow stepped forward and clutched my arm, continuing, George, just think of it as doing me a favor. If the Sue family really forces Makoto to marry that paralyzed woman, his life will be ruined. Do you a favor? What about me? Have you even considered how I feel? I flung her hand away, my expression dark as a storm. I continued, we grew up together. Our engagement was arranged by both families, and the wedding announcement has been out for half a year. Now you want to back out and marry a poor scholarship student sponsored by my parents? What do you think that says about the Wong family? How do you think the company will see me? Willow frowned slightly, holding back her frustration, and tried to explain. George, listen to me. I'm only doing this with Makoto as a formality. Once things settle down, I'll divorce him and marry you. After so many years together, can this really affect us? Can this really affect us? I recalled the headline I saw earlier. A bitter smile curled on my lips. You already made the announcement and canceled the wedding without telling me, and now you think I'll still believe anything you say. Thinking back over the past month filled with fights over this issue, I felt nothing but anger boiling inside. I had told Willow countless times I'd find a way to handle Makoto's situation. I had made it crystal clear, if she married Makoto, even as a formality, then we were done, and the Wong family would never accept someone like her. And what did she do? She made the decision behind my back and canceled the wedding. I had to find out from the news. Now I came to confront her, and all she could think about was Makoto. When had she ever thought about me? When had she ever cared about our years together? Seeing that I already knew everything, Willow gave up pretending. Since you already found out, there's no way to take it back. Our wedding is canceled, and the news about me marrying Makoto is already out. My heart felt like it had been covered in frost. Any lingering hope was crushed completely. I let out a long, heavy breath, suppressed the pain in my chest, and pulled out a wedding invitation from my pocket, handing it to her. Willow glanced at it, thinking I was helping her and Makoto prepare their wedding. Her face lit up with joy. Darling, I knew you were the best. You even helped us with the invitations. But as soon as she saw the names printed on it, her smile froze. George, what is this supposed to mean? The names are written clearly. I looked at her blankly, without any intention of explaining. After all, she had never considered my opinion in anything she did, and honestly, she probably didn't care. Otherwise, she wouldn't be so eager to marry another man. Willow flipped the invitation over and over, reading it again and again before letting out a cold laugh. George, is this supposed to be funny? You even went as far as to hold it on the same day as mine. And you're marrying Anna, the paralyzed woman even Makoto didn't want. I know you're still angry with me, but I've explained it all clearly. Once I help Makoto out of this mess, I'll divorce him. There's nothing between us, completely innocent. Is it really that hard for you to understand me? Just as Willow finished speaking, there was a knock at the door. Chapter 2. Makoto burst through the door, eyes bloodshot, and said with a face full of frustration, Willow, maybe we should just forget about this. Honestly, I don't really mind marrying Anna. It's just, Willow looked at his aggrieved expression, a flash of pity in her eyes. She stepped forward and gently patted his back, coaxing him in a tender tone. Don't think like that. I said I would help you, and I will. Even though I'd seen scenes like this countless times, it still stabbed at my eyes. Fortunately, this would all come to an end soon. I had no interest in listening to how Willow comforted Makoto. The invitation had already been delivered, and I had more important things to handle at the office today. I walked around them and headed straight out of the office. Willow's voice rang out behind me. George, where are you going? I ignored her. All I could hear was Makoto's pitiful whining and Willow's soft voice soothing him. Makoto, you're still the sweetest. George could never be as considerate as you. My steps faltered slightly, and my knuckles turned pale from how hard I clenched my fists. Back when we had just graduated, Lu Corporation was on the verge of collapse. Willow was career-driven, so I gave up my own family's company without hesitation. I bore the weight of their disappointment and started from the bottom as a salesman to bring business to Lu Corp. I lost count of how many times I drank myself into stomach bleeding at business dinners, all to bring Lu Corp back from the brink, until it rose again into the powerhouse it is today. But what did I get in return for all those years of effort? Just her saying that I'm not as thoughtful as that pretty boy Leech who only knows how to take. Grinding my teeth, I strode away in large steps. As I expected, Willow didn't chase after me. I went straight to the HR department and handed in my resignation, then walked to the elevator to leave. As I passed the emergency exit, I heard two voices behind the safety door. Through the glass, I saw Willow nestled in Makoto's arms. Her cheeks flushed red, just like she used to blush shyly in my arms years ago. "Makoto, we shouldn't be doing this." Before she could finish, Makoto cupped her face and kissed her. At first, Willow tried to resist, but soon she responded, their kiss turning hungry and desperate, as if they couldn't get enough of each other. "Willow, I'm sorry. I couldn't control myself. I love you so much. I only regret not meeting you sooner." "Makoto, watching the two of them tangled up together, desperate to melt into one another, and remembering how Willow just claimed things were completely innocent between them, I couldn't help but let out a laugh, even through the tears in my eyes. To hell with completely innocent. I looked down at the ring on my finger, the one I handcrafted for her when I proposed at 18. It was worthless now. I took it off and tossed it into the trash bin by the elevator without hesitation. Just then, the elevator doors opened, and as I turned around, there she was. Willow stood there, eyes wide in fury. "George, did you just resign at HR?" Clearly, someone in the department, knowing our relationship, had been shocked by my resignation and notified her immediately. But I had no illusions that she came running over because she wanted to win me back. Sure enough, even as I kept hitting the button to close the elevator doors, she squeezed in hastily and launched into a barrage of accusations. Chapter 3. You know the company is at a critical stage of development. Year-end is just around the corner. Where am I supposed to find someone to replace you right now? Can you stop being so reckless and self-centered all the time? Facing Willow's angry gaze, my expression remained indifferent. Isn't Makoto there? Didn't you always say he was capable? Perfect timing. Give him the chance to move up. A flicker of discomfort flashed in Willow's eyes. She hesitated before replying. Makoto is competent. Yes, but the company still needs you. Are you still mad about that incident? George, I've explained it so many times. I only married him to help him deal with the Sue family. I promise. Once it's handled, I'll divorce him. There's really nothing between us. Maybe you should wipe that smeared lipstick off your mouth before you continue explaining. I cut her off impatiently. Willow looked momentarily stunned, as if not understanding what I meant. I turned on the front-facing camera on my phone. The screen reflected her lips, lipstick smudged all over, obviously from her earlier passionate kiss with Makoto. George, that's just... Willow tried to explain, but I wasn't interested in hearing another word of her excuses. I opened a video file. It was the footage of her kissing Makoto just now. Panic flickered across Willow's eyes, and the color drained from her face. I only stared at her coldly, and then opened another video. This one was from a few days ago, the company's annual party. In the video, Makoto leaned in close to Willow, whispering and laughing. I had stepped forward to remind her, "We're engaged. If people see you getting that close to Makoto, they'll gossip. How's he supposed to find a girlfriend in the future?" Just as I finished speaking, Makoto looked up at me with a pitiful expression. "George, I know you're Willow's fiancée, but I'm her executive assistant. It's natural for us to work closely together. It's just a pure friendship. How could you think so lowly of us? A pure friendship?" Yeah, right. Anyone with eyes could see that Makoto's intentions were far from innocent. But instead of stepping away from him, Willow's expression had darkened, and she turned around to scold me. "George, do you have to think everything's so dirty? Do you even know how hard Makoto's been working lately? He was just promoted to executive assistant and is being unfairly targeted. I'm just comforting him. Are you really so unwilling?" She shot me an annoyed look. "If it weren't for our families arranging this engagement, do you really think I would have chosen to marry you?" In that moment, I felt like I had been struck by lightning. I stood frozen in place, watching the two of them walk away side by side. My heart felt like it was being torn apart. I paused the video and looked straight at Willow, my gaze sharp. "Do you know why I went out of my way to copy this video? Because ever since you said those words, ever since you walked away with Makoto, I knew that everything had changed. All the sweet things you used to whisper in my ear are just memories now. The way you used to look at me with concern while I was vomiting blood from drinking for business, that heartache now belongs to another man." I didn't want to believe it was real, but I had no choice but to face it. So I copied the video and watched it over and over again, torturing myself again and again, as if only by hurting myself enough, when the day finally came that you gave up on me and chose Makoto, I wouldn't feel like the sky was falling apart. Willow's lips trembled slightly, as if she wanted to say something, but I wasn't telling her all this in hopes she would come back or explain herself. I just wanted closure. So, before she could speak, I hit play again, letting the video continue. Chapter 4. In the video, guests at the annual party were gossiping without restraint. "Did you hear? That heiress from the Liu family, Willow, is actually tangled up with that unremarkable little assistant of hers. Wasn't she engaged to the young master of the Wang family? I heard they were about to get married. Well, what do you expect? Just look at the Wong guy, cold and stiff like the Grim Reaper. He's nothing like that pretty boy assistant, gentle and considerate. Women love to feel cherished. That may be true. But come on, everyone in this city knows about their engagement. Didn't the Wong family promise to hand over a whole subsidiary as a wedding gift the moment the Liu heiress married in? This is going to be interesting. If she really dares to call off the engagement, wouldn't that be a direct slap in the face to the Wong family? Where would they put their pride? The video ended. My gaze stayed locked on Willow's ever-changing expression. From shock, to anger, then to indifference. But not even a flicker of remorse crossed her face. The icy wall in my heart finally began to crack. I took a deep breath and slowly opened my mouth. Willow, even outsiders can see what's going on. I don't believe you can't. Let's be honest, you just don't love me anymore, do you? If that's the case, then let's end this cleanly. I'm done being the fool who gets played and betrayed by you. As soon as I finished speaking, ding, the elevator doors slid open, revealing the dim passage leading to the underground parking lot. I didn't spare her another glance. I stepped out and strode confidently toward my car. Willow panicked and rushed after me, but I was already completely done with her. I quickened my pace, yanked open the car door, and slammed the gas pedal before she could catch up. The car sped off, behind me. Willow's furious voice rang out like a rabid dog's. George, you've got guts. You dare treat me like this. You think your Wong family can stay on top without me? No apology. No plea for forgiveness. Just a raw, vicious threat. I honestly couldn't believe how someone could repay kindness with such cruelty. Then again, why not? There was still Makoto. Years ago, my parents were driving to the airport when they nearly hit him. Later, they saw that he was diligent and polite, and his family truly struggling, so they pitied him and began supporting him. Makoto practically became a second son to the Wong family. As for me, I treated him like my own brother. When he graduated, I personally recommended him for a job at Willow's company. Later, when he said his father was seriously ill and needed money urgently, I didn't hesitate to transfer $100,000 to his account. Even when Willow frequently visited Makoto's father in the hospital, I didn't think twice. I just assumed my fiancée was concerned for my younger brother. Even when I began noticing how close Willow and Makoto had become, sometimes even being alone together, I kept reassuring myself, she's my fiancée, he's my foster brother. How could they possibly betray me? But the world is full of ungrateful traitors. My grip on the steering wheel tightened unconsciously. The car exited the underground garage, and the view suddenly opened up, flooded with light. The gloom in my heart began to lift. I had been a fool, but it was over now. From now on, never again. News of Willow canceling the wedding had spread across the city, so my parents naturally knew as well. My father gave me a furious scolding over the phone, but in the end, he held back his rage and told me to come home. My mother also said that with age catching up, they no longer had the energy to manage the company. I knew very well that the Wong Corporation's current crisis was partly my fault. After graduation, I had stubbornly joined the Liu Group against their wishes. I even competed with Wong Corp for resources. Looking back now, how could the pain of my own betrayal compare to what my parents must have felt watching their adopted son turn on them? Yet even then, for the sake of my relationship with Willow, they had compromised again and again. And what did they get in return? A crumbling Wong Corporation, and their reputation in shambles in their old age. Just thinking about it made me want to slap my past self. If I hadn't been so blindly infatuated with Willow, how could she have trampled on my dignity again and again, and now even dared to threaten the Wong family? The hatred in my heart ignited a fire, a determination to rise from the ashes. After sincerely begging my parents for forgiveness, I made a decision. I would return to Wong Corp. This time, I wouldn't just turn the tide. I would carry the full responsibility as the Wong family's only blood heir. I will not let the Wong Corporation fall in my hands, and I will never let Willow get what she wants. Chapter 5. After returning to Wong Corporation, I launched into work mode like a madman, even more relentless than when I first joined Liu Group 3 years ago. The company, contract negotiations, the endless trips for deals, these became my entire life. I barely managed 2 or 3 hours of sleep a day. Thankfully, my efforts began to pay off. I managed to close a few small projects. They weren't instant windfalls, but they did ease the urgent financial pressure, steering the once crumbling Wong Corporation back onto stable waters. Moreover, these projects were low risk, guaranteed gains. In the long run, profits would continue to rise steadily. Within 5 years, Wong Corporation would surely enter a golden age of rapid growth, and that timeline would be enough for me to expand into even larger markets. After signing the last contract, I finally let out a long breath, but once my mind quieted, a nagging sense of unease crept in. Something didn't feel right. It was all going too smoothly, suspiciously so. I had tried probing my partner's intentions. They claimed it was simply admiration for my capability. So I left it at that, and didn't overthink it. Since taking over the company, I'd been spinning like a top. Everything involving Willow had long been buried in the back of my mind. Until one night, at an industry gathering, I unexpectedly ran into Willow and Makoto. While Willow was socializing with others, Makoto made his way toward me, perhaps because Willow and I had completely separated, and she had publicly announced her plans to marry Makoto. He now felt secure, no longer needing to pretend. George, so what if you two were childhood sweethearts? In the end, she still chose to marry me. Makoto grinned smugly. Before I could even respond, he deliberately bumped into me, spilling his wine. The glass shattered. Red wine soaked his shirt. Right on cue, Willow appeared. She gently helped Makoto pick off the shards of glass while he looked at me with mock grievance. Willow, don't blame George. I'm sure he didn't mean to. With that line, Willow turned and glared at me like I was the villain. George, that's enough. Even now, you're still playing these games. You think pulling stunts like this will win me back? She snapped. Let me make it clear. If you ever lay a hand on Makoto again, don't blame me for forgetting the ties between our families. At her words, I couldn't help but laugh. Ties between families? When had she ever cared about that? If she had, would the Wong family be the joke of the city right now? My parents couldn't even step outside anymore, let alone attend social functions. I glanced at the schadenfreude gleaming in Makoto's eyes, and took a slow step toward him, my gaze as sharp as a blade. Lay a hand on him. Watch closely. This is what that really means. I raised my fist and drove it straight into Makoto's face. That punch, I had wanted to throw it for a long, long time. For my parents, and for myself. You see that? That punch, consider it my heartfelt blessing for your everlasting love and eternal happiness, I said coldly, then turned and walked away, leaving behind a bleeding Makoto and a stunned, speechless Willow. Having my mood ruined by those two parasites, I had no interest in staying at the event any longer, and behind me, as if she'd never seen this side of me before, Willow just stood there in a daze. I, of course, had no reason to pay her any more attention. Still, after that encounter, something unexpected came to mind. Chapter 6. After leaving that unpleasant gathering, I drove straight to the most prestigious luxury wedding attire and jewelry boutique in City A. It was there that I had once custom-designed an antique-style phoenix coronet and a set of traditional hanfu for Willow, hoping to give her an unforgettable wedding. Now that the wedding was cancelled, I naturally had to take them back, but when I arrived at the shop, the boutique owner looked troubled and stammered. Miss Liu already came to collect the phoenix coronet and the hanfu set. She also took a men's hanfu outfit, saying it was for you. She brought the booking receipt, and we assumed you were too busy to pick it up. So, she didn't finish her sentence, but I already understood. I didn't expect Willow to be this shameless, to the point of taking what rightfully belonged to me. The hanfu I could throw to the dogs for all I care. But the phoenix coronet, that had to be taken back, because embedded in that coronet was a rare aquamarine gemstone. It's priceless, beyond market value. It's a Wong family heirloom, and it's meant for the daughter-in-law of the Wong family. Willow is not that person, nor does she deserve to be. I forced down my anger and called Willow. Her voice on the other end carried a faint tone of threat. Want the phoenix coronet back? Sure, but I heard your parents' joint project with the Su family ran into some trouble last month. Another threat? I let out a cold snort. Back when the Wong Corporation was hanging by a thread half a month ago, I didn't flinch. Now that it's stable and operating normally again, why would I care? Clearly, she's been too caught up playing lovey-dovey with Makoto to pay attention to the Wong family situation. She had no idea we were no longer in crisis. I'm getting that coronet back, one way or another, I said slowly and clearly, but Willow, seemingly missing the sarcasm in my tone, responded sweetly. George, didn't you have that phoenix coronet made just for me? I just wanted to give Makoto a perfect wedding. I was so infuriated by her shamelessness. I actually laughed. In all my 20-something years of life, I'd never seen anyone with such thick skin. She wanted to wear the wedding dress and coronet I paid top dollar to customize, to marry another man, to give him a dignified ceremony. How dare she? Willow continued blabbering on. George, our wedding with Makoto is almost here. If you'd like to attend. No need. I'm quite busy, I interrupted coldly. Willow sounded puzzled. Busy with what? I answered calmly. My parents are preparing my wedding. That's right. My wedding with Anna will be on the same day as Willow and Makoto's. If their wedding is just around the corner, so is mine. Oh, is that so? Well, that's nice then. Willow's tone sounded oddly relaxed, as if she genuinely believed my parents were helping organize her wedding to me. She even added sweetly, George, you're always so thoughtful. All right, I'll adjust our ceremony timeline accordingly. And without waiting for my response, she eagerly hung up. I couldn't be bothered to deal with her delusions anymore. Originally, I only planned to retrieve the aquamarine from the coronet and leave the rest behind. But now, Willow had proven herself not just heartless, but utterly despicable, and she continued using threats against the Wong family. Everything that belonged to me, I would take it all back. A sharp gleam flashed in my eyes. I already had the perfect plan, and when Willow's wedding day arrived, I would make sure to deliver a special gift to her and Makoto, one they'd never forget for the rest of their lives. Chapter 7. From beginning to end, the preparations for my marriage to Anna were all handled by both sets of parents. When my parents first brought up the idea of me marrying Anna, I was genuinely stunned. After all, the reason behind it sounded absurd. Willow wanted to marry Makoto, allegedly because Anna Sue was clinging to him relentlessly, and the Sue family was threatening Makoto to marry her. But deep down, something about the whole thing didn't sit right with me. Anna may be paralyzed and always in a wheelchair, without affection or status in the Sue family, nor any personal assets. But the Sue family is a century-old prestigious household, and Sue Group ranks among the top 100 enterprises. Even with my background, marrying Anna would be considered marrying up, let alone for Makoto, who had to rely on Willow just to get by. I had looked into Anna before, though she kept a low profile and there wasn't much public information about her. Rumors described her as a true lady of refinement, a far cry from the image Makoto had painted. But before I could finish investigating, Willow couldn't wait to announce her marriage to Makoto, so I dropped it. After taking over Wong Corporation, I became completely swamped. All arrangements for my marriage to Anna were handled by our families. I had never met Anna. All I knew was what my mother told me, that she was gentle, understanding, and nothing like Willow. My mom didn't finish her sentence, but I understood her meaning. To be honest, Willow was dramatic. If I hadn't always bent over backwards to please her, who knows how far her tantrums would have gone. Once, she got mad over something trivial and left me stranded at the North Pole. I nearly froze to death. Stuff like that happened more than once. My parents' blood pressure skyrocketed because of it, but because they respected our relationship, they didn't interfere much. They just reminded me to be more accommodating. But looking at it now, Willow had completely let me down. So when my mother said Anna would make a good wife, I didn't hesitate to agree. After being a love-struck fool, I finally woke up. As a man, the most important thing is responsibility. I don't need my partner to do much. As long as she doesn't bring chaos to the household, I will do my part with loyalty and duty. If Anna is truly as kind and gentle as my mother says, then at the very least, we can treat each other with mutual respect and courtesy in our life together. Besides, I've read some of Anna's messages to me. Even though we haven't met yet, she still takes the time to chat with me through texts. At the office, I had dinner delivered to you. Don't forget to eat on time. I made pork rib soup with 4-herb tonic today. Very nourishing. Be sure to drink it all. I sent a massage chair to your office. It has acupressure features, great for easing muscle tension and relieving fatigue. Give it a try. She was gentle and thoughtful. Even when I was too busy to reply right away, she would simply send a forgiving sticker or emoji that said, "It's okay." Whenever I had a moment to breathe, I'd find myself wondering, the girl on the other side of those messages must be soft, kind, and sweet. The wedding day was fast approaching. Anna, understanding how busy I was, said the Sue family had taken care of everything. All I needed to do was show up. Still, there were some things I wanted to prepare myself. Chapter 8. That day, I went to a jewelry store. While I was selecting a diamond ring, I unexpectedly ran into the two most eyesore faces in my life again. Willow and Makoto were also there, shopping for their rings. Naturally, they saw me too. Willow didn't shy away in the slightest. She openly stared at the diamond ring in my hand, with zero awareness that having betrayed her fiancé, she should at least be drawing a clear boundary with her ex. Instead, she stepped forward and said cheerfully, "I don't like square cuts, I prefer that Asher-cut diamond over there." I held back my instinct to snap, "None of your damn business," and simply pretended they didn't exist, continuing to examine the rings. But Willow, clearly misreading the situation, must have thought I was preparing a surprise for her. She giggled and wandered over to another counter. Makoto, seeing her walk away, moved closer to me and lowered his voice. "You're really going to marry that cripple? So what now? You gonna carry her to the bathroom for the rest of your life? You two must be so loving." He sneered, the sarcasm dripping from every word. I narrowed my cold eyes, raised my hand, and punched him again. "If you insult my fiancé one more time," I said, voice like ice, "I'll make sure you won't be able to crawl to a bathroom again." Makoto's skin was already delicate. The bruises on his face from last time had only just faded. Now, his face swelled again, and blood trickled from the corner of his mouth. Hearing the commotion, Willow rushed over. When she saw the scene, she was both shocked and furious, about to confront me, but Makoto quickly grabbed her and pulled her away. "I'm fine," he said. "It's normal for George to feel upset seeing us together. If punching me makes him feel better, I understand. Let's go, everyone's watching. Makoto didn't even use the moment to have Willow defend him. Instead, he dragged her out in a hurry. I watched them retreat and let out a cold laugh. So, Makoto had clearly kept the news of my wedding with Anna hidden from Willow, but I had already sent her the invitation long ago, and word had spread like wildfire. If she wanted to know, there was no way she didn't. Still, whether she knew or not, none of it had anything to do with me anymore. I pulled out a tissue and wiped my hand where I'd touched Makoto. Then returned to selecting the ring with calm focus. Time flew by like a flash. And soon, the day of my wedding to Anna arrived. That morning, hundreds of luxury cars pulled out from my home in a grand procession, forming a long line heading toward the bride's residence. The route to pick up the bride happened to pass by the hotel where Willow and Makoto were holding their wedding. As the convoy drove past, I looked out the window and saw Willow stepping gracefully out of her wedding car, wearing the hanfu I had custom-made for her, and on her head was the phoenix coronet inlaid with the Wang family's heirloom aquamarine. Willow leaned into Makoto's arms, smiling charmingly, while Makoto soaked in the admiring stares from the guests like a man at the top of the world, as if, in that moment, he had completed his leap across class lines and become someone important, though I wasn't there in person. I had specially sent my personal lawyer and assistant to represent me at their wedding. Just as Willow was looking around, eagerly searching for the wedding gift I had supposedly prepared, the lawyer pulled out a delicate box from their bag and gently placed it on the table before her. When Willow and Makoto finally saw what the gift was, their smiles froze instantly, as if sealed shut by industrial-strength glue. Chapter 9. Seeing the twisted expressions on their faces gave me a surge of satisfaction, a kind of comfort I had never experienced before. If time had allowed, I honestly wouldn't have minded staying to watch what happened next. I rolled up the window, a smug smile curling at the corner of my lips, and drove on with a light heart, heading to welcome my bride. Before I even reached the Su family's estate in City B, I received a call from my assistant, President Wang. Under legal pressure, Willow has returned the wedding dress and the phoenix coronet, he said, barely hiding the excitement in his voice. I smiled faintly. Everything was proceeding exactly as I had planned. Then he sent me a video. In the footage, Willow was being forced to remove the wedding gown. She looked disheveled and frantic, throwing on an overcoat just to cover herself. The guests were pointing and whispering, their eyes gleaming with malicious delight. Her once flawless makeup was now a mess, and Makoto looked like he was suffering from severe constipation. The two of them, hunched together in embarrassment, looked nothing like a bride and groom, more like a couple of cheaters caught in the act. I watched impassively and then turned off my phone. The moment Willow tried to steal what belonged to me. She should have known this day would come. She had brought this all on herself. An hour later, the motorcade arrived in City B, standing before the grand villa. I felt my heart inexplicably begin to race. I was about to meet the girl I'd spend the rest of my life with. My groomsmen, lifelong buddies, joked and teased as they volunteered to break through the obstacles first, holding the golden bridal bouquet in my hand. I smiled with quiet confidence. This bride, I would personally come to marry her, and any challenge along the way, I would face head-on. The one blocking the door was Anna's younger brother, David. From the setup alone, I could tell this guy was full of energy and ideas. At the final checkpoint, he proudly showed off a pile of certificates. Martial arts, sanda, boxing, fencing, even a shooting license. His warning was obvious. I respected his protective nature, and with a smile, I clapped him on the shoulder and responded, "The only use you'll have for these in front of me is when you perform a show for the family during Lunar New Year." David snapped out of his serious mode immediately. This man in front of him was his brother-in-law now, and clearly, someone who knew how to handle things with grace. Grinning with satisfaction, he called out, "Brother-in-law." He even complimented me, handsome, smart, and easily capable of clearing all his challenges. Satisfied, he personally led the way to Anna's room. I took a deep breath and stepped forward into the bridal chamber. As the door opened, a stunning, vibrant face came into view, with exquisite makeup highlighting her features. She looked so breathtaking that she almost didn't seem real. Noticing the daze on my face, Anna's expression showed a flicker of nervousness, but David stepped forward, bumped my shoulder playfully, and beamed with pride. "Told you my sister's 1 in a million, didn't I?" I nodded slightly. "She's not quite what I expected." Everyone held their breath, until I continued. "I thought she'd be like an unpolished jade, already a rare treasure, but it turns out she's the finest gemstone of all, so dazzling. I feel unworthy." Though from a family status perspective, the Wang family couldn't quite compare to the Zus. The sincerity in my words reflected something far more valuable, generosity and grace, that alone earned the respect of everyone present. Even the most critical bridesmaids looked at me with new eyes. Before I could even speak, they took the initiative and handed me the wedding shoes. I stepped forward and knelt down to put them on Anna myself. Then I drew a deep breath and prepared to lift her in my arms. Sensing her hesitation, the groomsman chimed in warmly. Don't worry, sis-in-law. George has been doing weight training for a month just for today. You're as light as a willow branch. He could carry a whole willow tree if he had to. Anna flushed, warmth filling her heart. She instinctively glanced at me. My ears were slightly red, but my eyes were steady. She didn't say anything more. She simply reached out her hand. I leaned forward and lifted her into my arms. She was even lighter than I had imagined. As the distance between us closed, Anna's face turned bright red. She nestled into my chest, looking exactly like a shy little bunny. Holding her close, I carried her all the way into the wedding car. We then drove to the wedding venue. When we arrived, I stepped out with her still in my arms, but the expected wheelchair never appeared. Anna stood on her own, gracefully, steadily, on her own 2 feet. Chapter 10. I stood there, momentarily stunned. You. Anna smiled softly, 2 charming dimples appearing at the corners of her lips. I recovered a long time ago. I just kept it that way to weed out a few people with questionable intentions. She didn't name names, but I had a strong feeling Makoto was one of them. Now wasn't the time to dig into that, so I simply reached out, took Anna's hand, and walked with long strides toward the wedding venue. The ceremony was long and complex, but maybe because it was Anna standing beside me, I didn't feel tired at all. When it came time to exchange rings, I pulled a velvet box from my pocket. Anna reached out her hand, ready, but then another identical velvet box slipped out of my other pocket. 2 rings. The guests exchanged awkward glances. Why would a groom bring 2 wedding rings? Was he trying to keep one foot in 2 boats? Just as the whispers and suspicion began to grow, I kept pulling more boxes from my pockets, one after another. In the end, I had pulled out 10 velvet ring boxes in total. I placed them neatly on a tray, then looked at Anna with slight embarrassment. They're all your size. I just didn't know which style you'd like best, so I bought them all. Take your pick. The crowd was speechless. Then, laughter erupted from every direction, but not in a mocking way. Even my mother chuckled, unable to hold back. You silly boy. What groom brings 10 engagement rings to a wedding? Anyone who knows you would think it's romantic, but a stranger might think you're here to sell diamonds. My ears flushed red. Seeing this, Anna smiled and reached out all 10 of her fingers. Then just put them all on me. I liked them all. Our eyes met, and in that moment, they were filled with nothing but tenderness. Given the Su family's status, this wedding was nothing short of a grand, once-in-a-century affair, although both families were considerate and didn't require us to mingle too much with the guests. By the end of the day, I still felt dizzy and lightheaded from exhaustion. If I felt this way, Anna must have been even more tired. So as soon as we returned home, I pushed through the fatigue and prepared a warm bath for her. Take a soak. It'll help you feel better. Just as I was about to take off my jacket, Anna walked toward me. She stepped beside me, gently placed her hand on my chest, and began unbuttoning my shirt with care. I could feel her breath, warm and soft, brushing against my chin. It tickled, and I instinctively turned my head away. Anna noticed the blush spreading across my face and smiled teasingly. Didn't expect this from you. The legendary cold-faced king of the business world blushing like a shy boy. Her words made my face even redder. I didn't explain. The truth was, I had never been cold by nature. The aloofness was a front I had kept for years, to give Willow a sense of security, to distance myself from other women. I had forced myself into that role for her sake, and yet, the very coldness I used to protect her had turned into the excuse others used to compare me to Makoto. To claim he was more caring and gentle. Looking back, it was almost laughable. But now, that was all behind me. Still, I couldn't help wondering, what would Willow and Makoto's faces look like when they saw the spectacle of my wedding with Anna? Anna, as always, was thoughtful and warm. After I took a bath and finally relaxed, she led me on a little tour of our new home, though our main house was in City A. This villa was part of Anna's dowry, gifted by the Su family. The Su family was far wealthier and more powerful than both the Liu and Wang families combined. Worried Anna might suffer after marrying me, they insisted that we live in a home they had prepared, at least for the beginning. I didn't mind. Home, to me, is wherever my wife is. Anna chatted with me the whole time. As we talked, I got to know more about her life over the years. With every word, the emotional distance between us faded naturally. It was our wedding night. Something should have happened, but I was afraid she might not be ready, so I didn't push it. Anna smiled and said it was better to let things happen naturally. She was happy to take her time building a relationship with me, perhaps because of her kindness and warmth. I slept the best I had since breaking up with Willow. Chapter 11. According to our original plan, Anna and I were supposed to visit her parents the next day, but to our surprise, her parents were already waiting for us downstairs. After we offered them tea as part of the traditional ceremony, Anna asked the staff to prepare lunch. The atmosphere at the table was warm and relaxed. Mr. Su was gentle and kind, doting on his wife, passing her dishes and refilling her water. They asked if I was adjusting well to the new house. I smiled and assured them everything was perfect. Mrs. Su kindly told me that I didn't need to be so formal at home. If Anna ever bullies you, she added with a smile, just let me know. I'll back you up. That kind of sentiment was something I had never once received from Willow's parents. Back then, no matter how poorly Willow treated me, her parents always asked me to be more patient with her. Not once had anyone stood on my side. Anna, playing along, feigned fear and said, he's the only one who does the bullying. How could I ever dare? That drew a burst of laughter around the table. Seeing how harmonious the Su family was, I felt myself relaxing. For the first time, it truly felt like I had gained another family. You two should come back to City B more often, Mr. Su said. Your mom and I don't have much to do these days. We'd love to have you around. Anna was their only daughter. Now that she was married off to City A, it was natural for them to feel a bit of emptiness. So that very afternoon, I brought Anna back to City B with her parents. City B, in the south of the Yangtze River, was like something out of a painting, with stone bridges, flowing rivers, old towns and countryside scenes that looked like inkwash art. Especially in the drizzle, it was simply mesmerizing. I wandered through the streets, marveling at everything. When I turned around, Anna was holding a portrait of me in her hand. The ink was still drying, yet the likeness was striking. Surprised, I asked, is this for me? The painting showed me standing by the window, but the whole thing couldn't have taken more than 10 minutes. She had captured every detail so vividly, so quickly. Anna nodded slightly, her cheeks tinged with pink. I assumed she was just very talented at drawing and didn't think much more of it. I grinned, held the portrait up to my face, and asked, do I really look like this? Anna's eyes sparkled as she nodded, but before she could speak, we heard hurried footsteps behind us. The next second, Anna stumbled right into my arms. I caught a faint whiff of gardenia from her hair. For a moment, I was utterly captivated. When I turned to look behind us, my smile vanished. Willow was standing there, glaring at us with bloodshot eyes. She had deep dark circles under her eyes, messy hair, and looked completely worn down. Seeing Anna in my arms, she practically spat the words, George, who is she? I frowned and shielded Anna behind me. Isn't it obvious? She's my wife. Didn't you see the invitation? Willow's face darkened further. George, how could you treat me like this? Willow, I replied coolly. There's nothing between us anymore. Stop acting like I betrayed you. You made your choice when you picked Makoto. So why can't I choose to marry someone else? Willow's face fell. At that moment, Anna spoke up gently. Miss Lu came all this way. It wouldn't be polite to let her leave empty-handed. Please, let me treat you to a private room. Her words were graceful and poised, protecting my reputation, yet still giving Willow a way out. The onlookers around us assumed it was a friendly reunion between old friends, and slowly dispersed. The tension in my chest eased slightly as Willow, still sulking, followed us upstairs. This restaurant was owned by the Su family. When the manager saw Anna arrive, he greeted her respectfully as Miss Su and promptly led us to a luxurious private room. Chapter 12. Anna thoughtfully ordered all my favorite dishes and even poured wine for Willow. But Willow didn't appreciate the gesture. Instead, she sneered coldly. You don't need to act like the host here. George and I have loved each other for years. You're not someone who can just insert yourself into our relationship. Anna's beautiful face tightened with anger. No matter what your relationship with him was before, I am his wife now. You have no right and no status to speak to me like that. Willow, unwilling to accept this, stood up. If it weren't for you inserting yourself into our relationship, George and I would have been married long ago. You wouldn't even have a place here. Slap. Anna slammed her wine glass down on the table, her polite smile replaced with an expression of anger as she confronted Willow. Why don't you think for a moment, why did he give up on you and marry me? What were you doing back then? Willow fell silent, unable to respond. I spoke softly, my voice calm. Willow, let's move on from the past. I've married Anna, and now I just want to live a peaceful life with her. Willow's eyes widened. Disbelief etched on her face. But you've known her for such a short time. You couldn't possibly love her already. You're just trying to get back at me. You were the one, weren't you? Out of jealousy, you had people take the wedding dress and the phoenix coronet away. Do you know how much humiliation I suffered because of that? I already knew. I had even seen the footage from the scene. But wasn't that what she deserved? And now, only now, she was remembering the good things about me. I stared at Willow coldly. Willow, those things were mine to begin with. Not to mention that the phoenix coronet had my family's heirloom. Why would I leave it for you? From the moment I took those things back, you and I have had nothing to do with each other. From now on, I hope you won't interfere with my life again. Willow's face turned pale as she yelled. I don't believe it. We've known each other for over a decade. How can you just say you don't love me anymore? If I loved you, would I have married Anna? Stop deceiving yourself, we are finished. I said without hesitation. Willow was stunned by my words. She stayed silent for a long time before speaking again. How can you say you don't love me? We've been through so much together. Is it because of Makoto? I really couldn't help it. She lowered her head, regret and pain in her eyes. George, I'm sorry, but you ruined that wedding. I didn't marry him in the end. I waited for you that day, but you. Enough. Stop making excuses for your selfishness. Hearing her mention the past reignited the anger buried deep inside me, but all that was left was anger. Willow, back then, the whole city knew about our childhood engagement. Do you have any idea how humiliating this is for me? How am I supposed to face others after you did this to me? Willow's face turned even whiter. She seemed to want to argue, but when she opened her mouth, no words came out. Did you really not foresee this result? I continued. Makoto kept crossing boundaries, showing you affection. Didn't you see it as him deliberately staking his claim, trying to embarrass me? A flash of panic crossed Willow's eyes. She fell silent again, hoping it would pass unnoticed. I've warned you more than once, but you kept favoring Makoto. I said with a mix of helplessness and anger. You told me Makoto was struggling and needed your care. You said he was too young to understand love, but what about me? You never considered how I felt. I caught you and Makoto together, and I even presented the evidence to you. I showed you how others were gossiping about how your broken engagement was affecting my family. I even humiliated myself by giving you another chance to choose, but you still chose Makoto. My emotions flared, but I took a deep breath to calm myself. To put it simply, you just stopped loving me. That's why you trampled on my heart and efforts. My eyes burned with anger. And now, you're finally getting what you deserve. I stared at Willow's eyes, speaking each word deliberately. Willow, don't forget, I've married Anna now, and you're married to Makoto. From now on, we walk separate paths and have nothing more to do with each other. Chapter 13. Those words seemed to drain all the strength from my body. Anna, standing beside me, noticed the sadness in my expression and a wave of sorrow stirred in her heart, though she had heard of the past between Willow and me. She never expected Willow to go this far. Had she known sooner, she would have. The thought of everything I had gone through alone made Anna's heart ache even more. Her eyes turned red as she looked at me. No, Willow nearly screamed. Is it because of Anna? If she dies, will you come back to me? Before the words had even left her mouth, she pulled a gleaming knife from her coat. Stop, I shouted, but it was too late. Willow, seemingly well prepared, raised her hand and aimed the blade at Anna's chest. Luckily, Anna was quick on her feet. She dodged to the side effortlessly, then grabbed the knife from Willow's hand. Willow, in shock, seethed with rage, she raised her hand again, intending to confront Anna. What she didn't know was that Anna was a black belt in judo. The moment Willow attacked, Anna swiftly subdued her, pinning her hand to the table with a firm grip. Ah! Willow screamed in pain, but Anna didn't loosen her hold. Instead, she turned to look at me. I had just been startled by Willow's reckless actions and was worried for Anna's safety. So I stood there in a daze, unsure of what to do. Seeing my concern, Anna pursed her lips and, with a slight hesitation, released Willow. She walked over to me with a guilty look on her face. Only then did I snap back to reality. I quickly pulled Anna close and checked her for any injuries. Once I confirmed she was unharmed, I let out a long sigh of relief. Anna's eyes brightened slightly. Darling, were you worried about me? I was speechless. Looking at the tenderness on Anna's face, my heart felt a mix of emotions. This face, which should always be proud and bright, now held a look of vulnerability. I knew I had made her feel insecure. I gently wrapped my arm around her shoulder and said softly, "You're my wife. My only partner in life. Of course I care about you. Who else would I care about?" A flash of grievance appeared in Anna's eyes. And then she buried her face in my chest, hugging me tightly. "Darling," she hit me. "I need my husband to comfort me." Once again, I was speechless. The Anna I remembered, the sweet little woman, had returned. I didn't push her away. Instead, I gently patted her back to comfort her. "It's okay. Don't be afraid." I didn't even realize how affectionate my gaze had become. To Willow, this scene was a huge shock. Ignoring the pain in her arm, she charged toward me, her eyes filled with fury. "So you just stand there and watch her bully me, and then comfort her? You weren't like this before. Isn't this what you always did to me? Always favoring Makoto over me, even helping him mistreat me. And just thinking about how she almost killed Anna earlier." A wave of fear hit me, followed by even more hatred toward Willow. "Willow, I tried to spare you some dignity. I didn't want to make things so ugly, but you pushed it too far. You even tried to kill Anna. Don't blame me for not being polite anymore." With that, I gently pushed Anna aside, Worried Willow might try something more extreme, I stepped forward and swiftly dislocated Willow's other arm. Willow cried out in pain, clutching her dislocated arm, her face full of disbelief. George, how could you do this to me? You learned Sonda just to protect me. I let out a cold laugh. That was in the past. Now, you nearly killed Anna, and all I did was dislocate your arm. Is that really such a terrible thing? Willow was on the brink of breaking down, calling my name in a pitiful attempt to make me feel some compassion. But at that moment, my heart and mind were completely with Anna. I ignored her pleas. Willow, unwilling to accept defeat, gritted her teeth and tried to approach me, but Anna, with a firm push, shoved her away. Miss Lou, there's a limit to how much nonsense you can make. I'm out of patience. If you keep interfering with my husband, I won't let you leave City be alive. Willow opened her mouth, ready to argue, but just then, the door to the private room suddenly swung open. Chapter 14. A man, pale and gaunt like a corpse, came stumbling into the room, crying. I looked at him for a long time before I recognized him. Makoto. The last time I saw him, he was dressed in high-end fashion, arrogantly flaunting his success in front of me. But now, he was wearing tattered clothes, so thin that he looked like a bamboo stick, as though a gust of wind could blow him over. He was weak, on the verge of collapsing, like someone who was about to die any second. It had only been half a month since Willow married him, yet how had Makoto fallen to such a pitiful state? He looked like someone who had crawled out of hell, a living corpse. He fell to his knees at Willow's feet, crying like a child. Willow, I know I was wrong. Let's go back home, please. I'll never lie to you again. Get lost. Before he could finish, Willow kicked him to the ground with disgust. Makoto fell awkwardly, crying even more pitifully, and then turned to me for help. George, please, help me talk to Willow. Ask her to forgive me. I just want to go home. His cries were so mournful, like a funeral dirge, that it made me feel utterly nauseous. What does this have to do with me? He's the one who stole my fiancée, and now he's asking me to plead for him. Everything about this was absurd, and I responded in a cold tone. Makoto, how Willow treats you is her business. It has nothing to do with me. And you and I, we don't have any relationship anymore. But Makoto remained kneeling, refusing to stand up. Willow and I are getting a divorce the day after tomorrow. I've become the laughingstock of all of City A, with nowhere to go. George, please, just for the sake of our past, say something nice for me. I was stunned for a moment, surprised that Willow had actually been this heartless, throwing Makoto out of her life. After all, even though Willow had always claimed that marrying Makoto was just a temporary measure, I could tell she had developed feelings for him, and now that I was married to Anna, I wouldn't expect Willow to be this cruel. Even for the sake of appearances, she shouldn't have treated him like this. But I didn't feel sorry for Makoto's situation, nor did I care how Willow treated him. I had my own life now, and the past was long gone from my concerns. Not wanting to get involved in their mess any longer, I began to pull Anna away. But Willow suddenly remembered something and quickly blocked our path. George, it's all Makoto's fault. He kept lying to me, telling me that you and Anna getting married was just a rumor. I believed his lies, and that's why I missed my chance with you. I frowned. I had suspected this before, but I didn't believe Willow's words for a second. After all, Anna and I getting married was all over the headlines. If she had been paying attention, even just asking around, there's no way she could have been tricked by Makoto. Unless, of course, she had wanted to be fooled. Seeing I wasn't moved, Willow turned her attention to Anna. Didn't you swear you would only marry Makoto when you were paralyzed? Well, now he's here. I'll give him back to you, and you can give me back my George. How about it? Anna froze at Willow's words, staring at Makoto in confusion. Makoto, however, avoided her gaze, even seeming too afraid to meet her eyes. Seeing this, Anna immediately understood. She shot Makoto a cold, sarcastic look. Is this how you've been talking to everyone? She asked. I felt a pang of doubt in my chest upon hearing those words. Looks like there's more to this story than I thought. Chapter 15. Anna looked at Makoto and said, why don't you tell us what you did back then? Makoto's face immediately turned pale. He trembled, his lips quivering, but no words came out. Anna continued. When I was still in a wheelchair, you kept pestering me. You even tried to force me into an intimate situation so that the Sue family would have no choice but to accept you, this shameless man. As she spoke, sensing the stiffness in the air around us, Anna realized something and quickly turned to me, explaining. But nothing ever happened between us. Seeing Anna's misunderstanding, I instinctively held her hand. I didn't care about her past, but I couldn't help feeling more anger at Makoto's shamelessness. Anna, feeling my warmth and strength, began to calm down. She then spoke to me. After he realized there was northwest chance of getting close to me, he left. I thought he had changed, but no, he's still the same. He's ruined my reputation, and now he's made you suffer like this. By this point, Anna's eyes had turned red, and she regretted being lenient with Makoto in the past. On the other hand, Willow was completely stunned. She looked at Makoto in disbelief, her voice trembling. This can't be true. This can't be true. She suddenly went mad, kicking and hitting Makoto. It's all your fault. You told me that if I didn't marry you, the Sue family would force me to marry Anna. If you hadn't lied to me, how could George and I have separated? I'll kill you. Willow's outburst attracted the attention of the restaurant manager, but seeing Anna still there, the manager didn't dare to approach. Instead, he stood respectfully aside, waiting for orders. Seeing that I was getting fed up with the scene, Anna spoke up. Let's leave for now. I don't want our mood ruined by these people. As we passed the manager, Anna quietly added, just make sure it doesn't get too out of hand. As for how they continued their bickering, I let them be. The manager immediately nodded in understanding. Once we stepped outside, the air seemed fresher. I glanced at Anna, who was still holding my hand tightly. I noticed her palm was slightly damp with sweat, and I knew she was still upset by what had just happened. I comforted her gently. It's all in the past now. Let's just focus on living our lives together. Anna looked at me, her eyes full of emotions I couldn't quite read, but she didn't say anything, just wrapped her arm tightly around mine. Let's go home then. After this incident, I stopped paying attention to Willow and Makoto, but I never expected them to be like stubborn pests, always trying to interfere with our peace. They kept trying to block my way. I was so fed up with them that my patience wore thin. I looked at Anna, who shared my displeasure with them. She locked eyes with me, sensing that I had something to say, and leaned in slightly. What do you need, darling? Her little kitten-like gesture softened my heart, and a warm feeling spread through me. I couldn't help but reach out to gently rub her head, then held out my hand. We've been out for so long. Isn't it time we head back to B-City, to our own home? Our eyes met, looking into the heat in my gaze. Anna's face flushed with warmth. Although we hadn't crossed the final line yet, we had grown much closer. Anna shyly buried her face in my chest, her voice sweet and soft. I'll do whatever you say. The next day, at the wedding house prepared by the Sue family in City A, after we returned, I heard that Willow and Makoto had come looking for us. They hadn't found us before, so they had gone to B-City. Upon hearing this, a flicker of lingering anger surged within me. I don't ever want to see those two disasters again. If they come near, you make sure to throw them out. Thinking back to Willow's extreme behavior, I turned to the servants and the security guards, adding, if they cause trouble, you know what will happen. Anna understood immediately and followed up. Did you all hear that? Do exactly as he says. If anyone lets them in, I'll be the first one to deal with them. The Sue family had seen Anna's attitude toward me, and immediately agreed, nodding in unison. Understood, sir. After that, although Willow and Makoto occasionally appeared near the villa, they didn't dare approach again, thanks to the security's vigilance. However, on my way to the company, I was stopped by Willow. Chapter 16. That day, I was sitting in the speeding car, my mind occupied with company matters. Suddenly, a sharp brake jerked me out of my thoughts. The driver anxiously looked back to confirm I was unharmed, then let out a sigh of relief and quickly explained. Mr. Wong. A woman suddenly ran out in front of us. I furrowed my brow, following the driver's gaze, and saw Willow standing in front of the car, arms spread wide to block our path. She had truly lost it. The car was still moving, and she dared to run right into its way. Upon seeing me inside the car, Willow grew even more hysterical, shouting, George, get out. I have something important to tell you. If you don't get out, I'll make you run over me. The driver, looking troubled, turned to me. I gave him a cold glance before opening the car door and stepping out with deliberate steps. Seeing me get out, Willow's face lit up with joy as she rushed forward, but when she saw the cold expression on my face, she immediately stopped. Pain and reluctance twisted her features. George, please don't look at me like that. Willow's voice trembled. Did you call me out just to say this nonsense? I interrupted ruthlessly. If you're determined to die or scream, get away from me. Don't ruin my car. Willow swayed as if struck by a lightning bolt, but then she pulled herself together and continued. George, I know I was wrong before. You hate me, and I don't blame you for that. But you really think Anna's such a good person? She's nothing but a complete liar. If you don't believe me, go to her dressing room, open that locked drawer. Inside, you'll find the evidence of her trying to turn us against each other. I paused, my heart shifting slightly. I knew which drawer she was talking about. The night of our wedding, when Anna was showing me around the villa, I had seen that locked drawer, but I hadn't thought much of it. After all, who doesn't have a bit of privacy? But how did Willow know about such a secret? And as if reading my mind, Willow quickly added, don't ask how I know, but trust me, I'm not trying to harm you. George, I just don't want you to be kept in the dark. Anna. Before she could finish, Willow suddenly stepped forward, quickly slipping something into my pocket. "Here's the master key," she said, and with that, she turned and fled the scene. I didn't touch the key, but as I turned to get back in the car, I instinctively glanced at the driver. He was one of Sue family's men, but he kept his gaze straight ahead, pretending not to see anything. That night, I returned to the villa with a troubled mind. After dinner, Anna went to the bathroom, and I sat in the living room, glancing occasionally at the key in my pocket. The shadow of betrayal felt like a shackle around my heart, tightening with each passing minute. Driven by some impulse, I stood up and slowly walked toward Anna's dressing room. The locked drawer lay quietly there. My hand slowly reached into my pocket for the master key. All I had to do was pull it out and twist it, and I'd finally know what was inside. I'd know if what Willow said was true, and the doubts and anxieties I had that day would vanish. Taking a deep breath, I stepped forward, each step feeling heavier. By the time Anna emerged from the bathroom, she found me sitting at the desk, working calmly. I looked up at her with a composed expression. "You didn't blow dry your hair again?" As I spoke, I stood up, took her hand, and gently started drying her hair for her. The soft hum of the hairdryer drowned out the pounding in Anna's chest. As her mind drifted back to earlier, Chapter 17, although Anna had already instructed the driver earlier, reminding him that as my driver, he should remain loyal to me and not disclose any personal matters to her without my permission. Today's incident involving Willow had made the driver hesitate. After much consideration, he ended up telling Anna everything he had witnessed, including the part where Willow had given me the master key. Earlier, Anna had also seen me head to the dressing room and stand in front of the locked drawer, but to her surprise, I didn't open the drawer. Instead, I turned around and left, throwing the master key into the trash without a second thought. Anna hadn't expected that, between her and Willow, I would ultimately choose to trust her, and because of this realization, Anna began to feel more uneasy. It was as though the man before her was slipping away, no longer entirely hers. In a whirlwind of thoughts, Anna suddenly turned around and tightly embraced me, as if trying to merge her body with mine. I was taken aback by this sudden hug, and softly asked, "What's wrong?" Anna didn't answer but only hugged me tighter. Seeing this, I recalled the time we had spent together recently. It was only after truly getting to know Anna that I realized the rumors about her not having power and not being valued by the Sue family were nothing but lies. Although Anna had a younger brother, he showed no interest in business. Given Anna's exceptional abilities, she was the one taking over the Sue family's affairs now. And how could the head of a century-old family business be just a delicate, soft flower? I had even witnessed her handling company matters with swift, decisive actions, ruthless when necessary. Just like her bold appearance, she had the aura of a strong, unyielding woman. But despite being a formidable figure feared by many, in front of me, Anna always had an unexplainable sense of insecurity, like she was afraid of losing me. I thought back to what Willow had said, and perhaps Anna really had been hiding something from me. As the days passed, I noticed that Anna's gaze towards me was filled with hesitation, as if there was something she wanted to say but couldn't. The more I thought about it, the more uneasy I became, and it started affecting my work. I worried that Anna was keeping something bottled up inside, and that it might eventually hurt her health. I decided that I needed to find some time to sit down and talk with her. But before I could find that time, another incident occurred. That day, Anna and I were both off from work and at home. I noticed a familiar figure among the servants. Although the servant claimed to have a cold and was wearing a mask, something about the figure seemed all too familiar. When I realized the servant might be Willow, I suddenly heard Anna's shocked voice from upstairs. "What are you doing here?" My heart tightened, and I hurried upstairs. In the dressing room, I saw Willow had already removed her mask, and her cold, venomous gaze was locked on Anna. Anna glared at her, watching as Willow opened the locked drawer. Seeing me arrive, Willow's face twisted into a colder smile. "Since you're too scared to face the truth, let me lay the evidence right in front of you, so you can finally see Anna's true colors." Chapter 18. With that, Willow pulled open the drawer and threw everything inside onto the floor. I looked down and saw several portraits scattered on the ground. Each portrait was of me. There was one from a year ago, at a business seminar, one from 2 years ago, at a cafe, another from 3 years ago, when I went on a trip. There was even one from my university days, when I was playing basketball on the school playground. These portraits seemed to cover my entire college life and the 3 years after I graduated. Then, Willow pulled out a white jacket, stained with some faint, old stains that seemed impossible to clean. Holding the jacket, Willow looked at me and said, "Do you remember this jacket? It was yours when you were in college. Back then, this jacket got coffee stains on it because of Anna. You threw it away, but this voyeuristic freak kept it." Upon hearing that, Anna instinctively tried to explain. "No, I wasn't spying on you. I just wanted to clean it, but I never got the chance to return it." I could see the nervousness in Anna's eyes, And at that moment, her face suddenly merged with the one I remembered from 7 years ago. I recalled it, when I had just started university. I had accidentally gotten coffee spilled on me by a girl in a wheelchair. Could that girl have been Anna? Back then, Anna, still young, had the same nervous expression, continuously apologizing to me, even offering to replace my jacket. But I had other things on my mind. I wasn't going to argue over a jacket with a girl. After saying it's fine a few times, I casually took off the jacket and threw it in the trash. I had no idea Anna had picked it up again. Seeing the recognition on my face, Willow raised her voice. George, do you see it now? Anna has always had ulterior motives. Not only did she secretly keep your clothes, but she's been spying on you all these years. These portraits are proof. If it weren't for her interfering in our relationship, we wouldn't have ended up like this. That's not true. I never intended to destroy anything. Anna's eyes turned red as she tried to approach me, but then hesitated, not daring to get closer. Willow kept pushing. George, divorce her. Let's start over. Enough. I interrupted Willow's words with irritation. Then, I walked over to Anna and took her hand. When it came to matters between my wife and me, no one had the right to interfere. I gave Anna a reassuring look, then turned to face Willow's shocked expression. You always claim that Anna is the one who broke us apart. But tell me, did she force you to get so close to Makoto, even deciding to marry him? Is that what you're implying? It's laughable. My words were laced with sarcasm and disappointment, as if I were looking at a joke. Willow froze, her face stiffening, and she stammered. But she's the third party. Before she could say more, I continued. Willow, let me make it clear. Before I handed you the wedding invitation for Anna and me, I had nothing to do with her. I didn't even know what she looked like. I only truly saw her on our wedding day. Anna, too, no matter what she may have done in the past, when you and I were dating, she never appeared in front of me, let alone try to ruin anything. If these are the so-called evidences you think will tear us apart, then I have to thank you for helping me see how deeply Anna cares for me. What? Willow's eyes widened in shock, staring at me as if she couldn't believe it. All her effort to show me this evidence had not only failed to create a rift but had instead strengthened our bond. What was she doing now? Trying to make a fool of herself? No, that's not it. Willow screamed, her voice filled with pain. You should hate her for coming between us, just like you hate Makoto. George, how could you? I didn't want to hear her anymore. I turned to the butler, my gaze cold. Why haven't you kicked out the unwanted guests yet? And how did someone like this even get into the villa? You handle this. The butler, sweating nervously, knew this was his grave mistake. He immediately called the security and had Willow dragged out. Soon, the room was left with just Anna and me. I looked at Anna's delicate face, took a deep breath, and finally released her hand as I walked toward the sofa, speaking softly. Now, tell me. I only want to hear your explanation. Chapter 19. It seemed that Anna had made up her mind. She laid everything out for me, explaining it all. It turns out that from the very first time we met, 7 years ago, Anna had developed feelings for me. After that, she had subtly and sometimes intentionally tried to gather information about me. When she found out I already had a girlfriend, and that we were considered a model couple in our social circle, Anna did feel disappointed for a while. She had lamented how fate had brought us together too late, and that this unrequited crush would have to be buried deep in her heart. She had wished for my happiness from afar, but life is full of surprises. Anna found that she kept running into me, almost by chance. Sometimes it was in an elegant cafe, where she would see me attentively ordering coffee and dessert for Willow. Even if Willow didn't show up, I didn't mind. I would quietly read a book and then pack the untouched dessert to give to a homeless person I passed on the way. She would also encounter me at various business dinners, where she was a guest, sitting in a quiet corner, overlooking the entire event. I would be there representing Lu Corporation, conversing confidently with industry leaders, holding my ground with ease. With her heart full of unspoken affection, Anna had nothing but those portraits of me on paper, hoping to convey her longing. At this point, Anna looked at me with deep affection in her eyes, like mist that couldn't dissolve, but she then explained. But George, I had nothing to do with Makoto's actions. I really didn't know he would go after Willow. The things in that drawer, my family didn't know about either. Even if they did, they wouldn't interfere with my feelings. When Willow called off your wedding and your parents planned to set you up with someone else, my family went to speak with your parents, and they agreed to our marriage. At this point, Anna glanced at me, biting her lip, and finally added, after my parents knew how I felt, they suggested that your parents agree to our marriage by offering you shares in Su Corporation. But your parents refused. They said they wanted to find you a partner to share your life with, not a family alliance. It was only later when I went to meet your parents and expressed my feelings for you that they finally agreed to our marriage. Hearing this, it all clicked. I remembered when my parents had tried to convince me to accept the marriage proposal with the Su family. They had said that if I missed out on a girl like Anna, I would regret it later. At that time, I thought it was odd, since I had no prior connection with Anna. But now, I realized there was more to it than I had known. George, I shouldn't have kept this from you. I should have told you earlier, but I was afraid. Our relationship wasn't stable yet, and with Willow always getting in the way, I didn't want to tell you. Do you? Can you forgive me? She looked at me cautiously, her hands tightly clasped together. Seeing this, I thought back to those portraits. Thinking of her unspoken love for so many years, I couldn't help but sigh, feeling heartache. People always say that unrequited love is the most painful. You've suffered a lot these years. Anna's eyes reddened instantly, yet she seemed still in disbelief. George, does this mean you've forgiven me? I gently pried apart her tightly held hands and held her hand tightly. You've never done anything wrong to me. There's nothing to forgive. However, from now on, I hope you tell me everything. Since we've already married, we're a family, and we should rely on each other, walking hand in hand. Honey, Anna choked up and immediately threw herself into my arms. Thank you. I won't hide anything from you anymore. I had also thought, perhaps Anna already knew about my meeting with Willow, and that the driver might have told her. She might have known about the secret in her drawer all along. Considering how cautious she usually was, she should have tried to hide the secret, but she didn't. This showed that she had intended to be open with me all along. Despite her constant fear, she had never intended to keep things from me forever. I could feel her sincerity and was grateful. She wasn't like Willow, and with her, I didn't have to worry about history repeating itself. Thinking of this, I hugged Anna tightly, moved. Wife, thank you. Thank you for always loving me so deeply. Thank you for not letting me lose this time. Chapter 20. Upon hearing this, Anna seemed to understand my thoughts. She raised her head and gently placed a kiss on the corner of my lips, then said, Honey, Willow has done so much already, and I'm not going to let it slide anymore. She had been persistently bothering me, and now she had even barged into our home. Anna wasn't planning to let it go anymore. I looked into her eyes, filled with cold resolve, and it reminded me of her negotiating style in the business world, where she would silently overpower her opponents with pressure. I knew she had reached her limit. Moreover, Willow's actions had indeed gone too far. Technically, breaking into a private home was already illegal. So, I didn't stop her but advised, just be careful. As it turned out, within an hour, the butler had already discovered the truth. It turned out that a longtime servant in the villa had some distant connection with Willow. After being bribed by Willow, this servant had told her about the secret of Anna's drawer, and then managed to let Willow into the house. After learning this, I felt slightly relieved. The old servant had been dismissed and kicked out of the villa, and the butler had been fined half of his salary for his negligence. If it happened again, his fate would be no different from that of the old servant. Sue family's dismissal was, of course, not a simple firing. It meant the servant would never find decent work in the city again, essentially cutting off their livelihood in the area. This was, without a doubt, the harshest punishment for the servant. After the issue was resolved, the heavy burden in my heart finally lifted. However, that night, I had a nightmare. In the dream, I was forcibly taken to the Liu family. Willow had prepared a wedding dress for me and was forcing me to marry her. Makoto sat in a chair, smiling ominously at me. My hands bound. I struggled to break free, and in my desperation, I seemed to foresee a tragic fate. Suddenly, I heard Anna's voice behind me. She cut through the ropes and led me out of the nightmare. Looking back, the Liu family was now a ruin, overgrown with weeds and withered flowers. I woke up from the dream, realizing that the harm Willow and Makoto had done to me had left a shadow on my mind, causing the nightmare. Just then, Anna's soft voice whispered in my ear, Honey. The bedside lamp lit up, and Anna's caring face appeared in front of me. I finally regained a sense of reality and pulled her into my arms. We fell asleep together. The scent of jasmine surrounded us, and for some reason, I felt a deep sense of peace. It felt as if all the misfortune and hardships had faded away. I slept very soundly that night. In the following days, perhaps due to Anna's involvement with Liu Corporation, Willow stopped bothering me. I was relieved to enjoy some peace and focused on handling company matters. But then, one day, David suddenly arrived at Wang Corporation. In the CEO's office, I looked at my brother-in-law, whom I hadn't seen for a few days, and said with a smile, I watched your international Sonda competition a few days ago. You really made the country proud. When did you come back? Let's go. I'll treat you to a meal and celebrate. David, however, responded with a cold expression. I heard you also studied Sonda. Let's find a place and spar a little. I paused momentarily while reaching for my suit jacket. A memory flashed in my mind, the day David went to pick up Anna for the wedding, where he had presented the competition certificate but had secretly warned me. I immediately became alert and asked, What happened to Anna? David's eyes grew colder. You really don't know anything, do you? Seeing that he wasn't about to explain, I was about to take out my phone to ask Anna, but David stepped forward and grabbed my hand. You really think if you ask my sister, she'll tell you? I looked at the dissatisfaction and anger in David's eyes and couldn't help but chuckle internally. This kid was still too young, and couldn't hide what he was thinking. Feigning casualness, I smiled and said, even if I'm at fault, you should at least let me know where I went wrong. Let's go. We can talk over dinner. Chapter 21. In the private dining room, David finally explained the reason for his dissatisfaction. Your ex-fiancée, Willow, is really relentless. Not only does she constantly show my sister photos of you two from the past to disgust her, but she's also spreading rumors, claiming my sister is a third party who ruined your relationship. You know, you and Willow were together for years, and you were once seen as a model couple. Many people still believed in your relationship. Since you married my sister, there's been a wave of negativity online. They've been saying that childhood sweethearts can't compete with love at first sight, and they've been hurling insults at my sister, even cursing that she'll end up like Willow. I tried to suppress the rumors, but my sister wouldn't let me. She said you can't stop this kind of news. After all, you can't shut the mouths of netizens. The more you suppress it, the more it rebounds. There's another reason my sister hasn't mentioned, but I know it. It's because she cares about you so much. Even now that you're married, she still feels insecure. She seems to think that only by shouldering more responsibility can she find a sense of authenticity in this relationship. You might not know this, but my sister, as beautiful as she is, still feels inferior in front of you. She once said that you liked girls like Willow, who have a delicate, soft appearance, and that her looks weren't to your taste. So, she feels like she has to be extra good to you to make up for that. Yes, she actually used the word make up for. At this point, David gave me an accusing glance, the ribs in his mouth crunching loudly as he bit into them. He then continued, my sister loves you and has given you her all, and we have no complaints. But you can't just ignore her because she doesn't want to bother you. Do you really want her to keep carrying the label of a third party? I pulled out my phone and checked the online messages. Although many of the posts had been deleted, likely by the elders of the Sue family, there were still traces of mud being thrown at Anna. Looking at the timeline, the messages had appeared right after Willow had been kicked out of the Sue family villa. David was right. These issues had been stirred up by Willow. Even if I hadn't been aware of it before, I couldn't just ignore it now. Moreover, I had never realized how low Anna had placed herself in this relationship. I couldn't help but think back to the time when I was with Willow. Was Anna now just like I was back then? Thinking about this, I realized how neglectful I had been toward Anna. A wave of guilt surged within me. I raised my glass and toasted to David from across the table. Before he could respond, I drank my wine in one go, as if apologizing. Xingchen, thank you for telling me all this. When I returned home that night, I dug out a long-forgotten USB drive from my drawer. I had originally thought that after cutting ties with Willow, the things on this drive would never be of any use to me again. But to my surprise, Willow had made what was on this drive useful once more. With that thought, I plugged the USB drive into the computer and opened the files. I stayed up all night. The next morning, the online crowd found out that I had posted a long essay, several thousand words, on Wang Corporation's official Weibo account, and I had pinned it to the top. Chapter 22. My essay landed like a deep-water bomb, instantly causing an uproar online. In this long, several thousand-word article, I didn't hesitate to recount the emotional entanglements I had with Willow over the years and the time we almost walked down the aisle. But with a sudden twist, I directly exposed the undeniable proof of Willow's betrayal. The flirtatious messages and intimate photos with Makoto, as well as Willow's repeated harassment of Anna after our marriage and her malicious behavior as a homewrecker. The essay was filled with solid evidence and heartfelt emotion. It wasn't hard to tell from the words how deeply Willow had hurt me and how much Anna had suffered. At the end of the essay, I wrote passionately, Anna, she is the light in my dark life. She saved me and made me believe in love and marriage again. As soon as the essay was published, the rumors Willow had spread about Anna were completely shattered. Those who knew the truth and saw me take a public stand began commenting under my post. They confirmed what I had said was true and added more details about Willow's betrayal and mistreatment of genuine affection. The online crowd jumped in to condemn Willow. Those who had once sympathized with her now found themselves turning on her with such intensity that they wished they could crush her into the mud. And the more they hated Willow for tarnishing love, the more they cherished Anna, who had shown deep affection. Soon, fans of our marriage appeared online and even created a super topic for us. Some directors of reality dating shows even approached us, wanting to invite us to participate in a program called Love Comes Late But Strong. Of course, those were all later developments. After publishing my essay, I received messages from all directions. My parents wrote, son, you've finally grown up. We're so proud of you. The Sue family's parents said, last night, we consulted a master who said you lack a Rolls-Royce in your fate. We've had one sent to you this morning. You must accept it. As the master's predictions are only reliable when believed, David wrote, "Brother-in-law, from now on, all the honors I win are half yours, because you've stabilized my entire foundation." But it was Anna's reply that warmed my heart. "I heard the magpies calling this morning, and I realized it was you thinking of me. No wonder life feels so vivid and specific, because there's only one you." I looked at the message and could almost imagine Anna gazing at me with sparkling eyes, full of charm. At that moment, I suddenly realized that the type of person I used to describe as the one I liked wasn't based on the type itself, but because the person I liked just happened to be that type. Just like Anna, who perfectly fit all the beautiful expectations in my heart. I replied to Anna, telling her I would pick her up after work. I felt that to give her more peace of mind, I should put myself entirely into this relationship and show her through action. It seemed like I needed to prepare well for tonight. With an expectant and burning heart, I instructed everyone to prepare everything. But little did I expect that the unexpected would come so suddenly. That afternoon, after completing my tasks and preparing to leave the office, my special assistant rushed into my office in a panic. "Mr. Wong, there's a problem. The security guard just reported that Willow attacked one of the guards and went straight to the rooftop of the building. She says she wants you to meet her. If you don't, she'll jump off the building. What should we do?" I felt a sharp pang in my chest, knowing Willow's irrationality. But there was more anger than anything else. Did she really think that by continuing to harass me, everything would go back to normal? Dream on. I quickly put on my suit jacket and coldly ordered, "Don't tell Anna. I'll go up and check." Chapter 23. On the rooftop, the wind carried a biting cold, whipping Willow's disheveled hair around. It had been half a month since I last saw her at the villa, and she had grown even more gaunt and haggard. Yet the almost frenzied expression in her eyes hadn't changed. When she saw me, Willow seemed momentarily stunned, a look of admiration flickering in her gaze. "George, you're still as handsome as before. No, you're even more charismatic now. But someone like you should have been mine." Her obsessive look now only made me feel disgusted, like I was being swarmed by flies. "First, you tried to force me with a breakup. Then you tried to force me with the Wong Corporation. And now, you're trying to force me with yourself." My voice was as cold as ice, mercilessly shattering any remaining hope in her heart. Willow suddenly remembered the purpose of her visit today and screamed in frustration. "Don't you understand why I've become like this? Was the post you made on the official Weibo account really something Anna made you do? Or did she post it from your account without you knowing? Willow, how much longer are you going to keep lying to yourself?" I ruthlessly exposed her delusions. "I already gathered all the evidence of your betrayal long ago. I had intended to spare you some face, but you shouldn't have kept targeting my wife. You were too lenient with me before, but now, it's over." Willow still wouldn't give up. "What kind of spell has Anna cast on you? How long have you known her? And yet you're so biased toward her. Don't you know what she's done to my company? She's stolen all my clients, and now my company is on the brink of bankruptcy. It's already. Why are you still blaming Anna for your company's bankruptcy?" I interrupted her sharply, pointing out the truth without mercy. "Under Makoto's instigation, you tried to evade taxes and take illegal shortcuts. You resented me for stopping you, but after I left, did you still continue with it? The current state of Lu Corporation is entirely your doing. As for your clients being poached by Su Corporation, that was their choice. It has nothing to do with Anna. Even if Anna did something, it's because you were the one who pushed her too far in the first place. What? Are you allowed to attack Anna? But she can't fight back. That's not how the world works." Hearing these cold, cutting words, Willow's pupils dilated. Even though she had expected this outcome, she still asked, reluctant to accept the truth, "George, you're defending Anna so much. Has your feelings for her really become this deep?" I looked at her steadily, as if she were a complete stranger. "Willow, do you know, when I stopped loving you, I finally understood how cold-hearted you were toward me all along." My voice was calm and indifferent, without a hint of emotion, and when Willow looked into my eyes, no trace of her existence could be found. Only then did she truly realize that every word I spoke, every sentence, was genuine. I had really stopped loving her. I had let go. My heart, once filled with her, was now entirely filled with another woman. "George, do you remember what I once told you?" Willow suddenly descended from the rooftop, walking step by step toward me. Her face was filled with a desperate resolve, as if she was determined to drag everything down with her. "I said I would never leave you, that no one would ever treat me the way you did. So let's die together, shall we? Haha, let's die together." Chapter 24. When I felt the sharp pain in my arm, I looked down to see what had happened. I found that Willow, at some point, had inserted a shard of glass into her hand and was gripping my arm tightly with the hand holding the glass. This caused my arm to be cut, blood pouring from the wound. Before I could push her away in pain, a figure suddenly appeared before me. Anna kicked Willow away. She was followed by David and a few police officers. As the police officers moved to restrain Willow, David immediately warned, Don't touch her blood. She's contagious. Contagious. I froze, and when Anna tried to check the wound on my arm, I instinctively pulled away from her and turned to David. What contagious disease? David clearly noticed the wound on my arm, his pupils narrowing, his eyes filled with venom when he looked at Willow. Without saying anything, he quickly dialed 120. Anna's eyes were red, her body trembling slightly, but she kept comforting me. It's fine, honey, you definitely won't get infected by her. It wasn't until we were on our way to the hospital that I understood what this contagious disease was. It turned out that Makoto had been fooling around outside and contracted a dirty disease from somewhere, then passed it on to Willow. Only then did I realize why Makoto had been kicked out of Willow's house the day after their wedding and never allowed to return. Both of them had lost weight rapidly and looked withered. The thought sent a chill down my spine. Willow, she really did want to drag me down with her to die. Honey, Anna held the uninjured arm I had, continuously comforting me. Your wound has only come into contact with her blood. You definitely won't be infected. Even if you were, with how advanced medicine is now, you'll definitely be treated. Don't worry, I'll always be by your side. Looking at Anna's pale face and the false sense of strength in her eyes, my unease seemed to ease instantly. I wanted to reach up and pat her head, but in the end, I just smiled and reassured her. I know, I'll be fine. I know, I'll be fine. Didn't my in-laws also say that they consulted a master? The master predicted that I'm lacking a Rolls-Royce in my fate, but didn't foresee any other disasters. So, this time, I'll definitely be fine. I joked, and Anna couldn't help but laugh. But as we laughed, her tears started to fall again. She threw herself into my arms, crying with a thick sobbing voice. I'm telling you, even if you really get infected, you're not leaving me. I'll never divorce you in this lifetime. I stuck through 7 years of unrequited love and 7 years of silent admiration. What's a platonic love? As long as I can be with you, as long as I can see you every day, I'll be content. At the hospital, I anxiously waited for the results. Even though it was nearly midnight, neither David nor anyone else showed signs of leaving. Time passed slowly, minute by minute, until finally, the doctor walked out of the testing room. Chapter 25. When the doctor slowly uttered the word negative, Anna immediately burst into tears of joy and threw herself into my arms, overwhelmed with emotion. Although the doctor was cautious with his wording and advised a follow-up check in a week to confirm the final result, everyone in the room understood without speaking. I'd escaped disaster, and Lady Luck had favored me. I loosened my tie and let out a long sigh of relief. David volunteered to drive us back to the villa and left after dropping us off. After all, there were still some things I had to do. Some potential issues had to be nipped in the bud. When we returned to the villa, I saw the candlelit dinner in the dining room and remembered that I had asked the servants to prepare it. But now, looking at my arm wrapped in bandages, and hearing the doctor's incomplete instructions echoing in my mind, I suddenly felt a bit at a loss. I awkwardly turned to Anna and said, "This is just to celebrate our 56th day of marriage, nothing more. How about we eat first?" Anna gave me a blank stare. Which couple celebrates their 56th day of marriage? But when she returned to the bedroom and saw the birth control items on the nightstand, she immediately understood the deeper meaning behind tonight's gesture. A blush rose on her cheeks. In fact, the events of today had made us both more aware of our feelings for each other. Perhaps it was the right time to take the next step. After silently making up her mind, Anna quietly walked out of the bedroom and joined me for dinner. Afterwards, she insisted on helping me bathe since my right arm was injured, and it made certain movements difficult. However, when helping me into my pajamas, Anna's small hands would unintentionally brush against my skin, sending a wave of heat through my body and distracting me. It was hard to resist, but I made my way back to the room. I was about to suggest, "Let's sleep in separate rooms tonight," but Anna gently pushed me onto the bed. Then, she moved closer, her breath warm against my ear. "Honey, the things we didn't do on our wedding night. It's time to make up for them." The next day, the two of us didn't wake up until the afternoon. The sunlight outside was bright and cheerful. In the big bed, we lay entwined, gazing at each other with eyes full of tenderness and satisfaction. A week later, my follow-up check confirmed everything was fine, and I was finally able to relax completely. That day, Sue family hosted a banquet, and David arrived early at the Sue family's old mansion. Seeing Anna chatting with her mother, he hooked his arm around my shoulder and led me out. "Brother-in-law, let me tell you some gossip." David's eyes sparkled with a hint of vengeful pleasure, and I knew immediately who he was going to talk about. I feigned curiosity and listened attentively. David spoke slowly. "Ever since Willow caused your injury, she's been imprisoned for multiple charges: intentional harm, defamation, tax evasion, and more. She'll never get out again. She can only survive in prison with medication, provided she can hold out. As for her ex-husband Makoto, it's even worse. I heard he died from illness before Willow went to prison. Willow didn't even buy him a grave. I listened to this with no emotional reaction, as if it were a story about a stranger, because since that incident on the rooftop, I had completely let go of all the love, hatred, and grudges. The past had dissipated like smoke, and they no longer deserved to stir even the slightest ripple in my heart. Just then, I noticed a few familiar figures walking into the Sue family's old mansion. They seemed very familiar with the Sue family. Upon seeing them, David immediately went up to greet them enthusiastically. "Uncle, second uncle, you're here. Uncle, second uncle." They were actually relatives of the Sue family. It was obvious that they had noticed me too. Before they could speak, I suddenly thought of something and immediately walked up to them. Was the cooperation with Wong Corporation also Anna's idea? The elders exchanged uncertain glances and finally replied vaguely, "We also recognized your personal excellence." After that, they quickly shifted the topic and began chatting with others. Seeing this, I realized what had happened. I helplessly looked at Anna in the living room, smiling brightly. My eyes were filled with affection for her. She had put so much thought into everything for me, and I felt like I would have to spend my entire life repaying her. At this moment, Anna also saw me outside and immediately walked toward me, saying, "Honey." She reached out to pull me inside, but I grabbed her and pulled her into a tight embrace. "Honey, you promised before that you wouldn't hide anything from me again." Anna's eyes flickered slightly as she glanced at the people in the living room. She instantly understood what I was referring to, just as she was about to explain that it wasn't intentional and that she had just forgotten. I spoke again. "I'm going to punish you." Anna froze. "Punish me for what?" I gently kissed her on the lips, and my voice was full of warmth and affection. "I'm going to punish you by loving you for the rest of my life." Behind us, the sounds of laughter and conversation from the Sue family echoed through the house. "From now on, we'll be together. Year after year,